Are we all heading for a cliff? Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions says we are. He says America is getting dangerously close to the edge of financial ruin. And he says the president, instead of hitting the brakes, is hitting the accelerator. We asked him to explain. Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta.
First, a few bookkeeping matters. That tie, what's with that tie? I know it has some significance.
It's the Auburn tie. And Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon and I had a little bet. He was wearing his Oregon tie, and so I expect tomorrow night at the State of the Union he'll be wearing an Auburn tie.
All right, so hopefully the cameras will close in on him and he'll have the humiliation of having your tie on, the Auburn tie.
And it's going to be one that's more clearly Auburn than this one.
Oh, so he better look out.
It's going to have some color to it.
Speaking of the State of the Union, many of the senators have, quote, dates across the aisle at the State of the Union. Do you have a date for
I do. I'm honored to be sitting with Amy Klobuchar. She's a fabulous, fun senator, and I look forward to being with her. Maybe it'll make a positive difference in the atmosphere around here, although our senators get along personally a lot better than people think, but we have different approaches to government. That's true.
Did she ask you or did you ask her?
Well, we were talking on the phone and we were discussing it, and I said, come join me. So she's going to sit on our side, the Republican side, and sit with me.
All right. Now to the news of the day. I understand you think that the nation is on the Titanic.
We're heading in a fiscally unsustainable path. Even former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan said a couple of weeks ago that in 2 to 3 years there's not much better than a 50-50 chance we'll avoid a debt crisis like is hitting European nations. We're that close. The projections that our deficit would triple in 10 years have been low. It's worse than that. Now we're going into the 3rd year of that projection. So we've got to do something about that.
All right. Now, one of the other things that when you wrote in an op-ed, you talk about that in recognition of that problem, and I think everyone pretty much agrees that we've got some serious economic problems in the country with our deficit and our debt. You've said that this is the president's defining moment in terms of what he does with it?
I really believe it is, Greta, because he's our leader. You see the Governor Christie in New Jersey making strong positions that are going to pay off for New Jersey. It'll be a tough road now, but it won't be a road going off the cliff. He's going to do good for New Jersey. And David Cameron, new Prime Minister in the United Kingdom and Britain, is doing the same thing. They're going to make progress, although they're going to have to take some tough steps. We need to see our president lead in that fashion because we cannot continue to borrow and spend.
All right. Now, when presidents cut, people get mad, right? Exactly. All right. Is your party willing to stand with him and say, look, we take the joint responsibility to the people who are going to be mad when the cuts are made?
Absolutely, our party will be willing to do that. The question we're feeling is, the problem we're feeling is that if we advocate responsible spending and reduction of spending, we'll be attacked by the administration for cutting and hurting people. But we can constrain spending because we have no choice. What's the other choice? To continue an unsustainable spending course? That's not legitimate. So if we get on the right road, we take the tough road, this country will create confidence in our economy, in our economic future, and that will help the growth occur, which is essential. We need not austerity, we need prosperity, and that comes from economic growth.
Now, the president has said, at least he sent out a video to supporters, that he was in favor of some cuts. And I assume that where the argument may lie is in terms of what's cut, what's not. Let me ask you, Social Security. People love Social Security. Are you in favor of cutting it or amending it or adjusting it? If so, what would you do?
Social Security is moving into an unsustainable position. Most people don't know until the last few years, Medicare Trust Fund and Social Security Trust Fund have been in surplus. Only this recession took maybe this year the deficit for Social Security. And so they've been a healthy thing, but in the long run, they head into an economic downturn with the demographics that we have, and it'll be increasing our debt, and we've got to confront Social Security and do something about it, absolutely.
Like what?
Well, you can ask about, could we up the age limit till you retire? Could you honor everybody's who's on it now? what they're getting and protect that and figure some way in the future to change it, I think we could. There are a lot of things that have been proposed that I believe would work that could help strengthen Social Security. It's not hopeless. Social Security is more easily fixable than Medicare, just some fine-tuning, but they need to be done soon. The sooner you make the changes, the better off we'll be.
In terms of Social Security, would you advocate cutting anyone's benefits who's receiving Social Security now?
I don't think that's necessary. I think we could honor the benefits of everybody today. But I want to mention, Greta, that all the deficit, the huge $1.5 trillion it looks like we'll have in annual deficit this year, is almost every penny of that is discretionary spending. We cannot leave discretionary spending out of the mixture, even though in the out years, Medicare and Social Security are going into a very serious downward spiral.
In a short time, that continuing resolution that's running the government is going to be over, and questions have to be made in terms of how we're going to finance the government. Also, about the same time, the debt ceiling. Are you in favor of raising the debt ceiling or not?
Well, you know, we're going to have to raise the debt ceiling at some point because there's no way we can get to a balanced budget this year as a practical matter. We actually could, I guess, but it was a practical matter not. So I think it's perfectly legitimate and responsible for the Republican House, which is the only branch of government in the Republican hands, to say to the President, you show us some restraint in spending and we may then agree to raise the debt ceiling. We've got to show some significant change. And what I'm interested in and why it's so defining for the President is, will his changes be significant or insignificant? Then we're going to be able to tell. Numbers are numbers. We're going to add up his proposals when this speech is over. And the American people will know, is this a real change or is it basically a business as usual, a few reductions that are not that significant?
Last year at the State of the Union is reported, I don't know how accurate it is, that some members of the Supreme Court were unhappy. Justice Alito shook his head at one point, thinking that that the speech got too political for him or whatever. And now there's discussion who's going to show up and who's not. Do you think the Supreme Court should show up at the State of the Union or not?
I've always enjoyed them coming. I thought it was good that they were willing to come and sit through that. But actually it's gotten to the point where I don't think it's probably good. The speeches are so political. It's the President's agenda, and his party members are so supportive, and the people who don't agree sit on their hands. And so I think it's probably just as good for them to watch from home.
Well, we'll be watching tomorrow night. We'll see Senator Wyden in his new tie.
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you know who his date is by any chance?
I don't.
We'll be watching. Anyway, enjoy the State of the Union tomorrow night, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta.